Dead Red Cincinnati starts this way this week. Sam, good to see you. It's been a few days. Sam Lecure has just returned from the Lecure family compound somewhere in the far reaches of the Show Me State. And so we start with this, Sam, just a quick synopsis of your travels and your get-together with the entire Lecure gathering.
The LeClampets.
The LeClampets. Give me, as you make that trek periodically throughout the year from Cincinnati back to Missouri, give me the top 3 reasons or the top 3 things you look forward to about going back home and seeing the fam.
Well, I'd say it's mom is number one. I'll just keep it right there with that. And then number 2, and it's maybe part 1A is the hugs, man. So we had just immediate family out this weekend.
But immediate family is like 37 people?
40 or so. I mean, it was like, because everybody came up. It was my nephews had just graduated from high school down in Florida. So they drove up. So everybody wanted to get together to kind of have, a day for him. And so everybody was, the whole crew. So the hugs for sure. And then the laughs, man. Like, I feel like I got kicked in the stomach by a mule 750 times. It is just nonstop. I get all my one-liners and stupid little things that I get. I've been in a clubhouse since I was born, with 5 older brothers and 2 older sisters. And my dad's so full of beep, or whatever it is. So, I had it all. So mom, got to see her, the hugs and the laughs.
Perfect.
We cook okay too.
I was going to say, you do eat well. And I've met this much of the LeClampets, but obviously mom being the matriarch of that entire crew. We love
Mom puts together a casserole. We do some good eating. All the good things.
Perfect. Well, welcome back.
And topped it off with our own fireworks show in the front yard. Involved
bottle rocket wars or
no? It wasn't quite Friday night fireworks, but for Centertown, Missouri, man, it was pretty good.
We'll take it. Welcome back, and let's jump back in. It's Dead Red Cincinnati, Brian Giesenschlag, former Red Sam Lecure, in the leadoff spot today. Let's do this. Reds are playing, have played, or are at that point of the season when they do the Ohio Cup. For those not in the 5-1-3 or the Buckeye State right now, that's the interleague battle between the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Guardians. And this goes back to the start of interleague baseball when that happened, and you play for an actual physical trophy. In the pantheon of sports trophies, you've got the Lombardi Trophy, the Naismith Trophy, Lord Stanley's Cup, and the Ohio Cup. Sam, I take you back to 2012 and the Cincinnati Reds, your Cincinnati Reds, playing for the Ohio Cup. What kind of a pivotal moment was that for you and that squad? Let me give you some background. Round 1 of the Cup at Great American Ballpark, you guys swept the Guardians, outscored them 24-9 in that 3-game series. You went on to sweep the Yankees at Yankee Stadium the next series, and the rest of the season, after entering that series or leaving the Cleveland series 35-27, 8 games over 500, the rest of the season, that Cincinnati Reds squad went 62-38. 62-38. Take me back to that.
I love when you give some context like that, because I knew the team was good, but you start throwing stuff out like that. It's like,
take me back. Take me back to that series and that cup and what it did for that team.
So I remember, I think it was, I don't remember exactly when the Ohio Cup itself began, like whenever interleague and all that stuff. But, we'll make a big deal out of the Ohio Cup. And, we got the trophy on set and the mop and the whole 9 yards. And nobody in the clubhouse could give less, right? We wanted to win the games, but for whatever reason that morning, Ryan Ludwig was on one or had been on one and was feeling the effects of it. And me and Luddy are close. And he just, every once in a while, somebody just catches a heater in the clubhouse and just starts yelling about something. Who knows what? We had some personalities on that team. And so he's coming in, he's in his shower sandals and who knows what, and just starts yelling about how bad he wants that cup. I mean, if he doesn't have it, I mean, just for, I mean, not 1 minute. I mean, it was all day long. He'd pop out of a closet somewhere and be like, I want that cup, so it became the thing. So we won it. And then every series after that, somebody would like in jest poke it back at Luddy about, oh, we're going to Philadelphia. We want that cream cheese cup, and then that didn't take long before it took on the full life of its own, where we made Mesoraco go get the chalice that you saw throughout the season, if you saw it anywhere.
Yep.
With beer before we get on the bus, like cans of beer, not actually pour it full of beer, but take that. And so every series and every city that we went to was some kind of a cup. And I think that, it can be like the Viking helmet or whatever their thing they're doing now. When a team finds any extra, if you can find any extra incentive, because obviously the incentive is great. You want to do good. You're making money for your family. You're making an ass out of yourself on national TV, whatever it is. Like there's incentive to do well every night in the big leagues, but any extra motivation that you can find, surprisingly, people will rally around it because they want any smidgen of an advantage over the other team. So that obviously from that moment on, we played some pretty good baseball. So the proof is in the cup. So we got that cup. And I think that, every team around baseball is trying to find something like that to propel them forward. So that was my type version, I guess.
No, I love it. And I remember the pictures at the end of the season, that cup, that Mesoraco, the thing that you guys found, wherever he found that.
He found it some antique. I wonder, I'd like to know where it is. I bet he still has it.
I would love to know that too. I would love for someone to still have that. That'd be pretty good. All right, let's talk about one of your other former teammates you mentioned last week. One of my favorite things that you mentioned last week, Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland was famous for using the phrase the big 162, talking about the season and how the baseball season, with its length and its required endurance, somehow evens things out, tests, challenges over the course of those 6 months, and the big 162, truth comes out.
Yeah.
Realness comes out. So as you watch the Cincinnati Reds right now, not unlike a lot of teams, had a good start, 16-13, which was a good start compared to what this team had done the last several years. Then May, there was a stretch where they were 4-17, and then now back 12-5, 12-4, their last 16-17 games. What does the big 162 reveal about a team, and what kind of a path might you see the Reds on right now?
I like the truth part of that because, and we'll always talk, he says big 162, I say the back of the ball card, because it takes the full time to really separate everybody. And I think for this team, they don't know yet what the big, a lot of have any of them played a full 162?
A few,
so it's pretty rare. They don't even know what it is. And that's why I think you'll see some of the guys struggle with some of those lengthier slumps, a little bit, because once they start going through it, then it becomes your mind, and you start to panic about, being in the big leagues, looking over your shoulder, all these things. And once you start to accept the fact that, which is why it's really important that they talk about that process. I know it gets annoying. It even gets annoying for me to hear it. And I know how important that is to be able to have that one controllable every day that's your baby, right? You want to foster it and make sure it's in the right spot, because that's all you have to rely on, because sometimes you are going to hit missiles at people. Right. There's no reward in the box score for that. That doesn't show it on the back of your ball card that, oh, well, he ended up hitting 276 this year, but man, he had a 5-game stretch where he was really hitting the ball hard. That's not how it goes, right? You have to play it through. And I think from a fan perspective, that's why I always feel like you can't really be a baseball fan unless you watch it with pretty fair regularity. You have to fall in love with it over time to start to understand the nuance and understand that, the home runs and the strikeouts are cool, but that's just such a small part of what's going on out there and how you arrive at the big 162. So this is a nice run that they've been on. And when you talk about evening out, took them, I think it was about 60 games or something to get to 8.5 back.
All right, moving on right now. The Reds recently took Graham Ashcraft and sent Graham Ashcraft to Louisville. Graham Ashcraft is 26 years old. Last year, he led this staff in starts, innings, quality starts, and started this year, made every start, battled every start. For whatever you want to say about wins, has the second most wins on this team when he was sent down, but he wasn't getting the same results that he'd had. We'd been teased by watching Graham Ashcraft do some pretty special things. So what I want to ask you is, what is the greater context of this move, both in terms of Ashcraft and his immediate future or his future to get back to Cincinnati, and the thought process of the Reds?
I think that when you start asking guys, and you could put a little bit of Hunter Green in this category for his first couple of years in the big leagues, as far as learning at the big league level, adjusting at the big league level is a different thing too, because it's results based in the big leagues. Yeah. I mean, and minor leagues is for development. If you're out there and you're trying so hard to get the result, but you know that you have a better pathway to get there. Like, I'm a better pitcher than this, but I'm out here thinking about that versus the end goal, which is the win. Then you're doing then everybody's being done a disservice. Then at that point, you are not the best option. And that is something that a player would never admit. Of course, they always think they're the best. I still think I'm the first guy they should call out of the bullpen today. I mean, and that is just a mindset that you never can lose or you've lost. So you and I have talked plenty about his tinkering. Him after the start, it's thinking about, the mechanics and the this and the that. That's hard to think about those things and get major league hitters out. It's not easy to get anybody out, but it's real hard to get major league hitters out if your mind isn't completely focused on getting them out and how to execute the pitch. To send him down to the minor leagues and give him who knows how many starts. Who knows? They want to see it happen. So it doesn't happen overnight, but they want to see it happen and then want to see him repeat it. So I kind of anticipate him, unless a need arises, to be down there for a month, to be down there for 5 starts. That's if all goes well. So I think just kind of having that extra layer, that upper deck out of the picture. And it's not, if he loses the game and gets his butt whipped, like, it sucks, but it's easier to take a positive out of that when you didn't cost the team a win. The main goal is to have the best Cincinnati Reds team on the field that you can. You didn't cost that team an opportunity to maybe sneak into the playoffs or however it's going to play out. But so I think that's a big part of it for him. And I do think, because of the unforgivingness of the big 162, you can get lost in it, good or bad. You can find yourself in a dark place, or you can find yourself in the top of the mountain. And I'm not going to say he was all the way in a dark place, because he was battling. Like, he did not look like the guy that we'd seen. So obviously there's something that does maybe mechanically need to be fixed, but he didn't give any away, really. Even his last one was in Colorado. He gave up 4 in the first. I mean, he hung in there for a while, dude. Right. I mean, and I appreciate that about him, and I don't think he'd ever quit. But he is, to me, part of their best team when he's right.
And David Bell said exactly the same thing that you just said. But the Reds, for a change, starting pitching and pitching as a whole has been a good story for this team. They have more depth than they've had in the past, whereas someone might have, or the Reds might not have, a better option than allowing someone to work it out at the big league level, someone they believed in, like Graham Ashcraft. Now you let him work it out somewhere else. And if you look across baseball, good teams, good major league teams have good players at AAA that aren't there yet, or were here and went back for a time. And so I think you also have to view this situation for this Reds team differently, in that they've got some other options. They've got Carson Spires throwing the ball well. They've got Nick Martinez, who can start. That hasn't always been the case for this team.
Right.
And at the end of the day, everyone believes in Graham Ashcraft, but people also believe this Reds team can be pretty good. and you can let him work it out and maybe come back and help later.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm glad you mentioned Carson Spires because I'm liking me some Carson Spires right now, and I love me some Graham Ashcraft. He's the guy that I kind of had pegged to be their innings eater, because of the low strikeouts, because of the early action. Like I feel like if he's got the ball down in the zone and he's on the ground, it felt like the ball was in the air more this year than years past for Graham, right? And I mean, and that's a big deal. So obviously we wish him well, and he'll be back at some point. And and I think the Reds are, like you said, much better equipped to hold serve in the meantime.
Yeah. All right, shifting gears now. Father's Day week. So we have a Father's Day edition of Five and Dive. Marvin, shout out Marvin and Tom. Father's Day edition of Five and Dive, but we wanted to take it to baseball. So I'm going to give you a little quiz. I think you're going to ace this quiz. If you don't, it's okay. I didn't mean to say that and put the pressure on.
If I'm not, how many questions is it?
You have to get 5. So what I'm going to tell you is,
not 4 out of 5.
Currently in Major League Baseball, there seems to be a generational thing where there are lots of legacy players, guys in the bigs right now whose dads also played in the bigs. At the start of the season, MLB.com put together kind of a list, and this was back at the start of the season. So they did a starting 9 of players whose dads played. They did some other things, but I thought the meat of the players that most everyone recognizes is the position players.
Okay.
And so they gave me a starting 9 in no particular order, and I would like you to try to name 5 of the starting 9 notable big leaguers right now whose dads also played in the bigs. And sir, you may go when ready.
Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Okay.
Kevin Biggio.
Except he just got DFA'd.
He did.
Yep.
Dante, or what the hell's his name? Bo Bichette. Those were the easy ones because they were all on one team at the same time.
Yeah, there's a couple of more easy ones out there.
Are there?
Yeah. One of the best young players in the game right now plays in the American League Central. One of the best
Bobby
players.
Witt Jr.
Yep. And then one on the West Coast, Southern California.
Could you make one Fernando Tatis Jr. Could you make one positionally? Did you catch Tatis Jr.?
Yeah, I got Tatis Jr. So I think that's 5.
Is there a catcher? That's 5.
Yeah.
I was trying to make up like around the horn.
Well, I mean, you can keep going. The Reds will see one in Pittsburgh.
Oh, Brian Hayes.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I'll rest on that for now to keep it tight.
Excellent. So the rest of the list, you didn't say Cody Bellinger, right?
Yep.
Jock Peterson, which was a little bit tougher for me at least.
I wouldn't have known that.
Dalton Varsho.
Definitely wouldn't have known that.
And then the recently sent down Jackson Holiday.
Oh, heard
but
of him.
the one Hall of Famer in the group, Vlad Guerrero Sr., 9-time All-Star. Think back about.
Oh no, Craig Biggio's in there.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, you're exactly right. But since I told you that Kevin Biggio just got DFA'd, he wasn't on my initial list.
He didn't count anymore.
He did count. And then there was one on here, obviously, that is not currently in the bigs, but was up for a bit. Jackson Holiday.
Yeah. Yep. Struck his dad out once.
Oh yeah, very nice.
Maybe literally once, but he's 4. He was 4 for 13. Not that you keep track of such things. Not that I remember that or anything.
You got a pretty decent memory about some things.
All
right, I like that. Time now for the stretch.
All right.
Not going to spend a ton of time on this, but this week, Noelvi Marte, highly thought of Reds prospect, made his debut last season, made his first steps on the road back to Cincinnati after serving his 80-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. We had a chance to speak to him via Zoom before he started his way back in Louisville. There's a lot going on here with a great young player and with a lot of things that we don't know exactly how things happened. But as he begins to work his way back, Sam Lecure's advice to a young Noelvi Marte is what? This is the stretch.
I'd say the first thing would just be to remind him that we have all these tools at our disposal, that things like this shouldn't happen. So use your support group as far as that goes. And number two is that you're a good player and you're going to hear a lot of noise, but stick with your teammates. Don't try to be anybody else that because something like this went down. Don't try to overperform it. Like, I kind of feel like, speaking to Tatis Jr., I feel like to some degree he kind of did that. He's on a hot streak right now, but I feel like he came back and tried to overperform it because he felt his status in the game was going to be shadow, there was going to be a shadow cast over it. And that could be the case, even if it was a foot cream that had no real performance enhancing qualities to it. Those things happen too. But I would tell him, just understand that you're a good player, continue to get lost in your work, and be ready to drown out the noise.
Be ready. And that could be, listen, we talk about how things could change for a team when and if he gets back this season, which who knows?
Yeah.
Could be a big story for this team if he comes back and plays. David Bell said he's going to play, obviously, third base and shortstop for the Bats. Maybe some second base, which seems based on, he came up as a shortstop, but his body looks a little bit different now.
Looks a little bit thicker.
Maybe some second base. His first game for the Bats, he had 2 hits, including a double, playing third base. He's going to play every day at Louisville. He's eligible to be back with the Reds at the end of June. Obviously, the Reds are making no commitment as to whether that happens right away, whether he stays a little bit. But that's going to be a story for the Reds moving forward as you get closer and closer to the All-Star break.
Which I'm excited about, because I was really excited about him as a player.
Absolutely.
And obviously he's, remorseful, and he'll work his way back. And we look forward to him helping make this team the best version of itself.
Ended last season as maybe the hottest hitter on the team. Certainly took a hitting streak into the offseason when last season came to a close. We wrap things up now with a little bit of a tease. We're going to call this next week or so Lecure on the Loose.
Oh,
So Sam Lecure is going to be on the road with the Reds this week, Milwaukee and Pittsburgh, and you're going to be seated next to John Sadak. John Sadak in Milwaukee. Whoa, knocked my mic over.
Yes.
In Milwaukee as the game analyst for Reds and Brewers for the 3-game weekend series. Your thoughts on that?
I'm fired up. It's something that, I've had my eye on being able to do more of, because I'm a travel, bandit. I like to get out. I like to be around. I get a little bit stir crazy sitting still, because that was my whole life, right? I was all the time playing ball somewhere. So I feel like having
a familiar rhythm for you.
It is very much so. When I bought my house, I got a Marriott sells their bed, and I got one because I'm so used to sleeping in Marriott beds. It's the most comfortable bed for me, So to be able to get back out on the road and kind of use that to scratch some of my travel itch is exciting. Obviously, I'll have some nostalgia and memories of being back in Milwaukee and then going to Pittsburgh from there and getting to see those beautiful ballparks and, just be out amongst it, man. I've been wanting to do things like this. You and I have talked about it. So to get an opportunity to go do it, to keep it short, I'm excited.
All right. I'll see you in Pittsburgh. Wrap this up by telling the good folks, the viewers and listeners of Dead Red Cincinnati, what they need to know.
You got to subscribe to something. You got to like something. You got to rate it. I'd imagine it's going to be a pretty high rating.
Feels
Better
like
be.
it.
It's all part of it.
Appreciate it, brother. We'll see you next time.
All right, partner.